to dead Grime Gorys. Hi everyone, my name's Jake. I'm from a little town called Neverend. It's actually an island off the coast of Lycanview State. It's a nice, quiet, peaceful place. The people here are very cheerful and kind, and there's never ever any crime. I'm here obviously with my parents and my older sister Esme. She's studying rare breeds in the Cupid science era. It's very exciting stuff to me anyway, and especially to her, because she likes that type of thing, I suppose. Or she wouldn't be doing it, would she? Anyhow, my story begins sometime last year, in the year 2020. I love challenges and adventures. I like to think of myself as a person who's always out, trying to find something or somewhere to go, all of the time. If I didn't have anything to do, I'd deliberately go and find something, go anywhere, do anything, and whatever suits me at that time. Anyway, I left my house to go to my friend's place, about 45 minutes away from where I was. We used to do everything together. We're very close. We have been since we were kids. In fact, all our lives. I knew Brad was home because I could hear his loud music just as I came around the corner from where he lived. Brad suddenly popped out of his window and shouted, "Jake, over here!" I shouted back, "Don't fall out the window, Brad." He replied, "Don't worry, I wouldn't give you or anyone the satisfaction of seeing that." Then he gently climbed back into his bedroom window. "Hi, Jake. Did you miss me?" He laughed loudly. "Nope," I replied. "Not at all. I just thought I'd come see how you were doing and what you're up to." "Not much." "Not much at all." "What about you?" he said. "Well, all is good. Couldn't be any better, really." "Okay, Jake, come on. I know you. "Come on," he said abruptly. "What's wrong?" "Okay," I said. "Here it is." "Right," I sighed. I continued. "There's this guy and his wife and another guy that have just moved in next door to us." "And?" Brad said impatiently. "If you wait," I replied, "I'll get to it. Right, here it is. The weird part of it is, every night, the three of them leave their home together, same car, and leave always at the punctual time, on the dot, at 11:30. "What's so weird about that?" "I don't know," I replied, "but I'm thinking about following them one night. That's why I came to see you, because I was wondering if you would like to tag along, perhaps." "Well, do you?" "Sure thing," Brad replied. "But wait, what's going on? Why follow your neighbours? It doesn't make any sense." Come on. What's really going on in that head of yours, Jake?" "Nothing," I nervously replied. "I just think it's unnatural for three people to leave their house at the same time, same car, probably to the same whereabouts. I don't know. It's just weird to me, that's all." "Okay," said Brad. "I'll tag along, but for the main reason to find out for myself." "Fine," I replied. "It suits me just good. I'll see you then. I'll be round your house round about 8ish, okay? a while before the three of them leave. Then we'll follow them, okay? I'll park my car around the back of your house and bring it round just before they leave. Sounds like a plan, great. See you at 8 o'clock, my place, I said. See you tonight, and don't be late. Be on the dot, no later. Fine, Brad replied. Punctuality is my name, he said, laughing. Can you get your mum to make those delicious cookies again, just for me? What? I shouted. Nothing, Brad replied. Just as I thought, I replied, comfortably trying not to make Brad feel any worse than what he already did. When I finally got home, I said hi to my parents and Ola's sister Esme and went upstairs to my room. When I got there, I closed the door and I heard shouting coming from next door. Something about livestock and that they'd have to start finding other means of food. The female suddenly said, "We can't break the treaty. That would go against everything we know and have followed all these years. Can you imagine the bloodshed, the consequences of these actions? I mean, come on, you can't be serious." "Look," a man's voice said, in a guttural, low growl. "Neither of us have any choice. We're at the top of the food chain, but it won't stay this way forever, I assure you. Once we drop, there's no going back. We have no other choice. It's who and what we are. It's them or us." And then he said it. "We're werewolves. Don't ever forget that. We must survive at all costs, even if that means taking out a few humans for our food. Either way, the three of us will find out tonight at the treaty meeting. On that, you can be assured." I couldn't believe what I had just heard. What the hell? Werewolves? Food chain? Treaty? I've got to tell Brad. He's not going to believe it. I looked at the clock, and it showed 8 o'clock on the dot. I hope Brad's on his way. Over. I can't wait to tell him. He's going to think I'm crazy, or more so than that, stupid. Suddenly the doorbell chimed loudly, and an echoing, thundering knock at the door. Thank God it was only Brad. I could see his face through one of the door windows. For a moment there, I actually thought it was one of my neighbours. Thank God it wasn't. "You look white as a sheet. Jake, what's wrong?" Wait to hear what I heard sticking my ear to the wall. "Come on in. Let's go to my room." "Did you park your car around the back as I asked?" Yes, like I said Brad. "I'll move it around a few minutes before they leave, okay? Now what did you want to talk to me about?" "My neighbours, that's who." "Well, come on," Brad said impatiently, urged me to hurry, to explain what was on my mind. "Okay, it's going to sound absolutely crazy, but I overheard my neighbours talking about falling from the food chain and what would have to be done about it. One of the things they were going to do, or are going to do, is use humans as a food chain to stay at the top of their food chain. Do you know how absurd that sounds, Jake? Wait, I haven't finished. The best bits are yet to come. Go on, he said. I'm all ears. Okay, here goes, I replied. Are you ready? Sure, said Brad. Go ahead. My neighbours are friggin' werewolves, dude. I'm serious. I heard them talking about it, as clear as you can hear my voice now, as if I was right in the same room as they were. Well, we'll soon find out tonight, won't we? Brad's voice was a tint caution. Time had flown by. It was almost time to leave. We both grabbed our rucksacks. Brad already had his already done. I packed a few things, drinks and snacks, and of course torches, and a few other bits and bobs. And we headed downstairs to the car. Brad was already out there. He brought the car from round the back, just as he said he would. We both got in the car and waited for my neighbours to leave. Time had passed so quickly. All we were doing was sitting there, waiting patiently. I nudged Brad gently to grab his attention. They're leaving, I said. Come on, we have to follow them, Brad. Okay, he replied. We turned the key, started the car, and as the car passed us, we waited a few seconds more, and then we started to follow them. Careful not to get too close to their car, otherwise they'll see us, and they would know we were following them. They turned into a derelict building. Moments later, a large parking area, and parked up to the entrance door. The building was surrounded by dense forest and public walk paths. It was dark and dense. We parked just outside the complex gates, turned off our lights and engine, and headed the rest of the way through the area by foot. Suddenly they got out of the car. The three of them started walking towards the entrance door and walked in. We are almost on all fours, Brad and I, but cautiously creeping towards the complex. Then we both made a dash to the entrance door and stood either side, checking that it was clear and safe to enter. As we entered the door, it gently creaked open, but only for a second or so, thank God. We slowly walked into the building. It was dark, but we could still see slightly. There's lots of weird echoey sounds. The building was completely empty and abandoned. Ahead of us, there was a steep stairway leading up towards another door. Taking one step at a time, careful not to make a single sound. Finally, we both reached the top, and suddenly we could hear angry voices coming from directly ahead of us. Brad was behind me. I told him to wait there, where he was, and that I would be back in a second or so, and not to worry. I crept towards the door from where I heard the voices. I could hear arguing and shouting. The voices were raised suddenly. I tripped and fell, and the door violently opened, and I lay there in a heap on the floor. As I lifted my head slightly, they were all staring at me with now glowing golden yellow eyes. I was terrified because I knew what they would become. I got up and ran back out the door and violently grabbed Brad. Ran down the stairs, dragging him behind me, all the way, until we came to the last few steps, and I leaped, still dragging Brad behind me, the last few steps. We exited the complex and ran for the woods. Suddenly, there was an ever-deafening howl and guttural growl coming from directly behind us, still inside the building. What's wrong? Brad angrily asked. They've changed, I quietly replied, my voice shaken slightly with fear. Changing? Changing? Into what? Brad said. Werewolves, I replied. Are you serious, Jake? Really? Haha, werewolves? Do you know how absurd that sounds? Suddenly, without warning, the werewolves exited the building, and Brad's face sunk into a childish oblivion feature. Werewolves, he said. Run! Let's go! They turned and dropped to all fours from their two back hind legs and angrily ran towards us both. We ran into the forest as fast as our legs would take us. Run, Brad, run. I'll meet you back at the car. Now go, go. Please don't get killed, said Brad, turning back as he ran away, still running through the forest like a frightened rabbit. I stood behind a large tree and stayed there, careful not to make a sound. My breathing was heavy at this moment, and I was scared to death. Suddenly, I heard heavy footsteps that sounded close, too close for comfort. At that moment, I could feel a warm, decaying, putrid breath slamming me directly in the face. As I turned slowly to my left, there it was, its mouth gaping open, eyes wide and bright with hunger deep inside them, the deep, dark depths of its jaws. Its teeth long and sharp. Suddenly, without warning, it spoke. It was a guttural, deep voice. It said, "Run, go, and don't ever look back. Now go." I didn't argue. I ran faster than the speed of light, or so it thought. I daren't look back. I heard yelping, guttural growling, sounded like someone was in full of pain, echoing through the forest. I kept running until I came to an opening. I walked through the clearing, and ahead of me I could see Brad's car, but I couldn't see Brad anywhere. "Brad!" I shouted. "Where are you, Brad?" "Over here," a quiet, vulnerable voice said. I crept around the car, and Brad lay there in a glistening pool of his own blood, pouring from his shoulder and chest. "It was waiting for me, Jake. I couldn't fight it. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Jake. I didn't believe you, but I do now." "Save your strength, Brad," I replied. "Come on, I'll help you into the car. Give me your keys, I'll drive." I ran around the car after I safely put Jake inside the passenger seat and closed the door. As I got to the driver's side, I started to open the door, and I was violently leapt upon by this huge werewolf. It pounded me heavily to the floor and grabbed me by the throat, and the other clawed hand pushed hard against my chest and pushed continuously. Suddenly, at that fearful moment, it was violently pulled from my body. They were fighting, 2 of them. Blood was gushing everywhere. Howls of pain and guttural, deep, bellowing growls of anger, thundering deep within the darkness of the night. I managed to lift myself back up from the ground, still in a lot of pain, especially now, and headed slowly, as quickly as I could, back to the car, limping. I was in so much pain, like I said, my body hurt all over. I opened the door, got in slowly, and sat down and let myself slump into the car seat. A moment later, I started the car, turned the headlights on, and there the wolves were still fighting. Suddenly, there was a yelp, and then darkness fell quickly and quickly descended the sound into nothing. The werewolf turned, still standing there, over the motionless body of the other werewolf it had killed, and headed for the car. It raised onto its 2 hind legs, and then leapt up the bonnet of the car and landed with an echoey, loud, thundering thud, and tore its taloned claws slowly down the window, as if enticing me to exit the car. I put the car into gear, handbrake off, slammed my feet down on the pedals, and sped my way out of the area as quickly as I could. The beast slammed over the car and lay limp on the ground as I looked nervously through the rear-view mirror. I looked to my left, and Brad had fallen asleep. His chest was still moving, so I knew he was still alive, thankfully. I was still hurting all over. The pain was overwhelming. We both survived this deathly, harrowing night. We were almost killed. I dropped Brad at the hospital and waited until someone came and checked him out and took him inside safely. And I drove home. When I arrived, I parked the car in the garage, which opened electronically, so I didn't have to leave the car at all. As the door stopped, I drove inside, lights off, quietly. The dark blackness came over me without warning. I woke suddenly, and a guttural voice spoke. But it came from inside my head. It said, in a guttural, low growling voice, "See you both on the next full moon." Suddenly, there was a clear guttural growl and howling, then nothing. At that moment, blackness had taken me once again.